Alright, so I wanted to do another updated video on just removing some of the interior stuff. I had a little bit of fun removing the front seat because the thing is monstrously heavy. But it's a little bit tricky figuring out where the bolts are too. So you can see here, I know I've already taken it out, so you'll just have to bear with me. So I can't show you as I was doing it. But the front seat has 4 bolts on each side. One here, one here, one here, one here. They all come out from the top. I believe they're 7/16. The way you get to them is they're actually covered by the carpet. So you have to peel, there's like a carpet seam right in this area from where the back carpet meets the front carpet. So you pull that carpet back and you can get to these two, and then you pull the back carpet towards the back, and then you can get to these two. And then there's, for the power seat, there's only 2 plugs. This one and this one. Presumably, this is the main power for the seat, because there was a ground wire on the other side that went to one of the frame bolts. So this is main power for the power seat. All the relays and everything are self-contained in the seat, which I think is actually quite convenient. And then there's this single plug, which I think is, if you look in the back of the seat, I'm not sure if it's the same on the coupes, but on my sedan, there is a switch in the middle of the back seat, and I think it's for these courtesy lights in the back, so that the rear passengers can turn on the rear lights. And I think this is the power switch for that. The rear seats were obnoxious to remove. There's this weird clip right here, and you have to push really hard to get the bar out from underneath that clip, and then the bottom of the seat will slide right out. Then the back of the seat has 2, I believe they were 7/16 bolts that go into these clips right here. So they're readily, you can see them as soon as you take the bottom out, and then it unclips from the top. So you undo those 2 bolts, slide the whole seat up, and then you can take the whole thing out. My whole rear seat frame is very severely rusted. Several springs are broken. So eventually there will be a video on recreating the whole spring frame and everything for the seat, because that's what I plan on doing. The front seat was actually in quite good condition. We're just going to be doing a recover with foam and probably a leather seat cover on that. Now, for the door panels for the sedan, which I got this door open, by the way, all I did was stick a pry bar up in this area so that I didn't damage any bodywork. And you can't even see, I mean, these things were built out of such thick gauge metal. You can't even see where I put the pry bar, other than maybe a couple scratches on the paint. And I had to pry pretty hard. What it was is the whole latch assembly is seized up, or was seized up with rust. So I sprayed a bunch of WD-40 in there and massaged it around a little bit. Now it's moving nice and free. Eventually that'll be taken out and dealt with even in a more proper fashion, but that's at least getting me to close and open the door for now. So the rear door panel, I actually have them all off, but I'll go through the screws on the front panel, and they're very similar on the back panel. There's 2 in the cigarette holder or cigarette lighter panel. There are 2 in the little decorative panel around this, and then there are 1 screw in the side up here, and then 1, 2, 3 through the carpet, and then another through the vinyl side on this side. And then on the sedan, there is actually a screw up here. I couldn't get to it. I'm going to get chastised for this, I know. I ended up actually just cutting the piece of metal off right here. Because the sedan, the door panel actually has like a ledge that kind of sticks out further to help cover up this area. And underneath that ledge, there's actually a metal panel that helps support that whole area, because it's all just cardboard and vinyl. So they actually screwed that to the door frame with a single screw right here, and I could not for the life of me figure out where that screw was, so I decided that I was just going to cut it off. I plan on taking all of these doors off and doing like a full restoration on them anyways, so I will just weld this piece back on when I get to all that point. Because all the window regulators and everything seem like they're seized up. So literally, at some point in this restoration, all these doors are going to be taken off. I'm going to go through the door meticulously, make sure everything works, completely clean it up, prime it, paint it with probably a first coat of the color, and then put everything back together. So for the front doors, it's very similar. I've got this one halfway taken apart. So, you know, like I said, in the back you had the cigarette panel. In the front you just have the window switch. So there's 2 screws here, which is very similar. And then you can get to all the wiring disconnects. So, you know, this is the wiring disconnect for the motor. This one has the vacuum for the locks. And then all the window switches. And this one has the lockout switch as well. I'm still curious as to what the emergency mode does. I'm not sure if that's just like, hey, it'll roll down every window at once, which is kind of neat. I'll discover that later. If you guys know, feel free to put it in the comments. So, like I was saying on the back door, it's the same screw locations. One here, here. Sorry for the angle. And one here. Then on the front window, some cars came with power vent windows. I haven't seen that option personally. Mine has the manual crank for it, which just has the little spring clip behind it. And I'm just now realizing that my spring clip disappeared somewhere. Hopefully it's on the ground. But, you know, the handle just has the little spring clip that goes across each side, and they make a tool for it. I usually just use a flat blade screwdriver. I've also seen people use like a rag, and it'll yank it right off. Mine was on there quite tight, so it required quite a bit of prying and wiggling, you know, constant pressure to get it out, but that came right out. And then for the mirror adjust knob, there is a nut that holds the whole thing together. This nut, if you look really closely, you see there's 4 little divots. Now, I'm sure that GM at some point made some sort of special tool for this. Well, Jason's not going to buy a special tool for that. So I just used some piece of, some cheap, they're actually rather cheap, angled needle nose pliers, and you could stick it in those holes and hold it open, and it's not so tight that you can't just get it open. So that came right out. And then, I think I forgot to say this on the back door, but there are 2 screws up at an angle, here and here, for the door handle. And that's it to remove the front door. So, you know, obviously you have those 2 screws down there as well. So yeah, we'll go ahead and yank this off, and then we'll have an update later on removing the front end.